Labour's new funding shake-up could allow councils to raise council tax far beyond the current 5% limit, and that's triggered a major row over who's about to pay more. The plan comes as Rachel Reeves prepares her autumn budget with a fair funding review designed to shift money from wealthier councils to areas judged to be underfunded. To make that happen, councils would be able to apply for permission to raise bills well above today's cap if they argue they're facing serious financial strain. Supporters say it's a long overdue fix for towns, especially in the north, that have been struggling to fund essential services. But critics warn the changes could amount to open-ended tax rises for millions of middle-class households. Sir James cleverly has warned we could see council tax go up by 10% or more a year, or 40% by the end of Parliament. And he adds there is no limit on what increase councils can ask for. Areas expected to be hit include London boroughs, the home counties, parts of East of England, and even commuter towns around Manchester and Birmingham. The County Council's network also says the reforms risk funneling money into big cities at the expense of rural areas. Labour firmly denies that. Government officials do acknowledge that some local authorities may be in a challenging financial position, but insist that they're not giving councils a blank cheque. A spokesman says the government must strike the right balance between protecting taxpayers and supporting local authorities. And importantly, the government would not agree to requests where council taxpayers are already paying more than average. So councils can request bigger hikes, but they'll still need approval. On top of this, Rachel Reeves is expected to bring in a separate surcharge on the highest council tax bands, F, G and H, which could raise around 600 million. The result: some households could see large rises, some areas could gain much needed funds, and the political fight over who pays for local services is only heating up as budget day approaches. To dig deeper into what this could mean for you, here's the reaction from GB News as panellists break down the upcoming budget.
Now the budget is right around the corner. It seems to be getting closer every single week, probably because it is. And Rachel Reeves has received yet more bad news.
Yeah, as higher debt interest payments have created a £10 billion size hole in the black hole, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the ONS said that the deficit stood at $17.5 billion in October. Now, that's $3 billion higher than expected. But, of course, this accumulates because it's not just October we're talking about, it's the entire financial year. So this gives Rachel Reeves a pretty big headache when she doesn't need it.
Yeah, and guess who she's going to pass that headache on to? Hello, yes, you. So what levers in the budget will she try and pull to balance the books?
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's speak now to the editor of City AM, Simon Hunt. Simon, good to see you. Simon, can you explain what exactly has gone on here? I mean, 10 billion that you didn't notice you were borrowing kind of thing. Happens to us all, obviously.
Yeah, it's not very good news for the Chancellor. You played a clip earlier of Keir Starmer stumbling over. We might well see some more stumbles from the Chancellor come Wednesday. The figures from the UK's fiscal watchdog, the OBR, said that their estimates have been overshot on borrowing by nearly £10 billion. That means more and more tax will have to be raised come the budget next week. That is partly a reflection of what they described as higher borrowing from local authorities like councils, and also lower receipts than they had predicted in areas like VAT. So it does look like we're looking at tens of billions of pounds in tax raises at the budget next week to plug this fiscal hole, despite the fact that a year ago the Chancellor sought to reassure everyone that there wouldn't be any more tax rises.
This is largely due to less tax coming in than the Chancellor expected, despite the fact that last year she raised taxes by £40 billion. I mean, that's fairly extraordinary.
Yeah, it's really quite something. And I think, when we're looking at trying to explain why these receipts are lower than expected, part of it must surely come down to budget uncertainty. We're having a budget this year that is much later than normal by the standards of autumn budgets. And there's been so much uncertainty about which taxes will be raised and by how much. That does mean that a lot of people, including consumers and businesses, have been holding off on spending decisions, have been holding off on investment decisions. And we're seeing that kind of flow through into government tax receipts. And we also saw it this morning in the form of retail sales, which were down by more than 1% in October. So all of this budget uncertainty is not helping anyone, least of all the Chancellor herself.
It hasn't been good news for, every news story that's been about the budget. I've got a folder that high just in the last couple of weeks of things she's going to tax. So it doesn't sound good. What can she do, though, Simon? I mean, this is the big question now. We've got, a week to go. What can she do? What is the answer to this problem?
Well, I mean, the short answer is there is no one tax that can raise all of the money that Reeves will need. There's been talk over the last few days about a so-called smorgasbord of different tax options. The most obvious one that economists were looking at was income tax, because even a small rise in income tax can deliver upwards of 10 billion in receipts for the government. But it now appears as though the government has ruled that out, even though they appear to be flirting with that in the last few weeks. So we might now see other types of taxes on businesses. There's been talk of a bank tax, and also what are known as stealth taxes, where rates and bands are frozen, which means that because of inflation and rising wages, more and more people will be dragged into higher rates of tax.
And that's a particularly pernicious one, because it's something that the Chancellor specifically promised at the last budget she wouldn't do. She said that in terms, freezing thresholds would be a breach of manifesto commitments. It would be a tax on working people, dragging working people into higher tax bands, making them pay more tax in real terms. And yet it looks almost nailed on that that's exactly what she's going to do this time around. How does she square that circle?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we expected and we got reassurances from the government in previous months that their manifesto pledges not to put up taxes on working people, as they called it, which meant no high rates of income tax, no freezing rate bans. That all seems to have been abandoned now, and everything is up for grabs as far as we can tell. And these sorts of freezes raise huge amounts of money for the government. Even freezing income tax could raise upwards of £10 billion. And more people are going to be dragged into higher rate bands. We now expect, for example, that by the end of this parliament, there'll be more than 2 million people paying top rate tax, earning above £100,000, which means they pay higher and higher rates of tax. So this is going to be a growing electorate that are going to be more and more angry with the government if they don't do something about this.
Simon, I just want to ask you the most important question of the day. Obviously, by you explaining what you've just explained to us, is this a classic example of mansplaining? Rachel Reeves has complained that people explaining what she needs to do in the budget is mansplaining. I mean, so are you guilty?
Well, maybe by her standards, I am. But I mean, she'd signed up to her own manifesto. Maybe she does need that explained to her, since she seems to be walking away from it. I don't know.
Oh, goodness me. Simon Hunt, City editor at City AM. Thanks indeed for joining us and talking through